Karen from Countyfairgrounds USA, countyfairgrounds.net. Welcome to today's podcast.
County Fairgrounds here. Do I have the infamous Jack Spareribs on the line with me?
You do.
How long have you been Mr. Jack Spareribs?
I became Jack Spareribs shortly after the first movie came out in 2003 as a parody of Jack Sparrow in the films. All started because I was dressing for Halloween. So
I have to ask, what age were you about then?
Oh dear, I can't do math. 41, something like that.
Oh, so you've done other things. That's why I asked.
Oh yeah, no, I've done. I've been a pirate character before as a magician when I was hired at a French restaurant in Los Altos called Les Pirates. I can't pronounce it right, but the Pirates, a French restaurant, and all the waiters and waitresses were dressed like pirates. And so they hired me to do tableside magic, and they had a French balladeer walking around, and they had a clown going from table to table. But everybody that worked there was on roller skates. It was the early 80s at that time, so thus the roller skates. But, I started off doing magic when I was really young, and the pirate thing came about the same time as the magic, and just this last year or so, almost 2 years, since the pandemic hit, I started really thinking more about that and putting two and two together and realizing what got me started in what and when and why and where I was and everything. Because I put together a show for Zoom that during the pandemic that involved magic, of course, but also making a Mai Tai, the original 1944 Trader Vic's Mai Tai, in fact, which most people haven't had or don't know exists. And it's been a big hit. I've been a bestseller on the Airbnb site in 3 different categories, stuff like that. And it all started because of my great uncle. He was master builder.
Pirate? He was a pirate?
Well, yeah. Come to think of it, I think he liked it an awful lot because he was not just a master builder or craftsman. He had his own forge. He made swords and knives. He made his own flintlock pistols. He made blunderbuss. He made 6-shooters and rifles and everything. He was big into various weapons from the ages. He had like a mace on his wall that he made. And it looked like a museum, basically, of various metal and wooden weapons from over the ages. And I saw this from a very young age. I was
Sounds like fun.
I got to actually hold a pirate pistol flintlock when I was, 3, 4, 5. And it was heavy, and I was playing with, it wasn't loaded or anything. But when I'd go to visit him, because I was living with my grandparents, and so they would go visit their brother, and we all lived in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area. And he built his own house, my great uncle. He built his grandmother's house when he was young. He built his own house later after the stint in the Navy in the war. But whenever we went to visit, or whenever he came to visit, he would show me a magic trick, or at least I thought it was a magic trick. But it was actually a bar bet or stunt, something easy to do that didn't involve sleight of hand or anything, complex or anything. And he was in the Navy, so of course he knew a lot of these bar bets. And I finally figured out, he didn't do magic. He was just showing me some stuff. But to me, when I was a kid, I thought it was magic tricks because they had a secret and I had to practice and, that kind of thing.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What did you do? I have to ask, pre-pandemic, did you do stage shows?
Yes, primarily stage. I've done everything from close-up strolling magic to street shows at Pier 39 and the San Francisco Wharf to big shows with an illusion and crazy juggling and stuff at amusement parks. I produced, wrote, directed, and performed in a show at Paramount's Great America, which was another spoof character, a spoof of Indiana Jones with the fedora and the leather coat, and I learned how to use a bullwhip, and It was a bullwhip act, a magic act, and a juggling show all combined, with a big finale illusion that I built.
Now let me ask you this. All these things that you've done, what's been your favorite? Hard question.
You know, that's hard. That's hard.
Okay.
I am a magician first and foremost, so I love everything that has to do with magic. My favorite thing I've done, though, when I was young, when I was 6, I went to Disneyland for the first time. It was the second year that the Pirates of the Caribbean had been opened.
Okay.
I went specifically because I wanted to see the pirate ride. I didn't know what the rest was. I didn't care. But I had seen for the whole year in 1967, every Sunday night they talked about that stupid pirate ride on the Sunday night Wonderful World of Disney or Wonderful World of Color or whatever it was that year. And I must have somehow talked my mom into it, or I don't know, she read my mind and figured it out. Probably wasn't too hard. But I went down in 1968 in the summer and rode the ride and literally got off the ride and said, when I grow up, I want to be a pirate. And to me, the whole park was about pirates because everything was dressed up pirate because they were trying to push this brand new e-ticket ride. And I think I got to ride it 3 times because we only had 3 e-tickets. I didn't ride any other e-ticket rides.
Hey, Mr. Jack Spareribs, I have to ask this ridiculous question. Are you any good with a boat?
Yeah, actually, I have sailed on the bay. I would not probably make a good captain just because that's not what I do for a living. But I did sail as a crew on a tall-masted ship in the San Francisco Bay for, a couple of years with a bunch of other scurvy dog pirates. We were a small pirate crew. The captain was the owner of a tall-masted vessel. She was a gaff-rigged ketch with square topsails. Fairly small boat, but she was a replica of a dispatched gunship from the 1741, I think it was, something like that. Very small, fast, but able to defend herself. And so she was perfect for out in the bay because of her configuration and cutting in and out of the swells and stuff out there where it's really choppy was both fun and dangerous. And we may or may not have been drinking mass quantities of rum. I won't say, so protect the innocent or not so innocent. But we used to get to sail back behind the McCovey Cove where the ballpark is. And we used to get to fire our cannons out there because the crowd would cheer and stuff. And you'd hear the announcer say, if you want them to make some noise, if you want them to fire their cannons, make some noise. And then we'd give them a broadside until the Coast Guard stopped us.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so pre-pandemic, let's forget the pandemic for a minute. You did a stage show?
Yes, stage and either stage or not on a stage, but mostly at fairs and festivals.
Okay.
County fairs, state fairs, festivals. Most of the time, dragging around my pirate ship. It's a trailer that becomes a pirate ship. It takes me a day to rig it and that sort of thing. But it becomes a big attraction that sits behind my stage or my performance area. Some fairs put me up on a stage in front of my ship. Some, they don't put the stage up. I'm on the ground, but they put the audience up in bleachers in front of me. So basically, it's so people can see either way. But I'm performing in front of my pirate shipwreck called the Fair Maiden, and I do magic, some juggling, and ventriloquism with Maynard the Talking Monkey.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that. I saw that on your website, so tell me a little bit about Maynard.
Oh, do I have to? All right. You see, if he were here right now, he would be dominating. I wouldn't get a word in edgewise. But yeah, he's a monkey puppet that used to be a rabbit when I first started doing ventriloquism in the early 80s. And he performed with me. He was Dudley the Rabbit, and he performed with me at, thousands and thousands of shows at schools and libraries and birthday parties and you name it, corporate events. Then I got out of performing for quite a while, about 10 years, accidentally, because I took a job as an animator at Atari Games and then went from there to Sega and Electronic Arts. And it was fun, but not really. I
Sounds like fun.
I missed performing, and
yes.
in that industry, you can't book a show on a weekend in advance and assume that you can go do it, because you might come up on that weekend and they say, we need you to stay here at work and finish this, or put in some FaceTime, and we're having a meeting on the weekend, because they might be in crunch mode. And so I had to quit booking shows, which I thought, oh, here's a regular job. I can do this on weekends like a lot of magicians. They're by day, they're a doctor, and by weekend, they're a magician, that kind of thing. It didn't work out so well. So after quite a few years, I actually became clinically depressed because of it. Sitting in a cubicle was not for me.
Well, you're a pirate, for heaven's sakes.
Right. I needed to be out and free on the seas or performing. And so that's what happened. I was laid off one last time, because when you finish a game, they lay off like 100, 200 people. Boom, the whole team goes because they don't have another game in the pipe or something. And I became a street performer because I just couldn't go find another job. I did not want to move to LA to work. I had a wife in a wheelchair and 2, kids and stuff. So I decided I wanted to stay in the Bay Area. And my wife said, well, go back to performing. I said, I don't have any shows booked. She said, well, go perform on the street. So I did. And ended up at Pier 39. And from I
bet you could make a lot of money just standing on a street corner as a pirate.
Not as much as one would think. People don't like to pay for that. No. Mm-hmm. It's a weird thing. I really honestly thought that I could go out and just be one of those character guys and do that. But it's not no. I sat there for 4 hours one day just because I had the time to kill before a show. And I made $38 in 4 hours. That wasn't very good.
But you had fun.
I did. It was a great fun. I actually had a sign that said, we'll work for rum.
That's cute.
And I had some funny signs I was holding. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Pier 39. It's kind of a crazy place. So
Yes. So I had to compete with the silver guys out there too. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. Yes.
Yes.
That makes it rather unique. All right. So what is the biggest shows that you've ever done, and your fondest memories?
Okay. Well, I've done shows for large groups of people, as in big shows in, big places. Usually, I've done things for out at the big amphitheater that's here in the Bay Area, at Shoreline Amphitheater, both for like performing out in front while, like for the 4th of July, where they're going to have the orchestra playing after, big concert thing going. And they have entertainers out in the concourse for that. That was a big thing, being seen by a lot of people, but not on a big stage. Then I performed on the big main stage at Shoreline for a corporate function from a Silicon Valley, rather large corporate company thingy happening with all of their different, divisions and stuff, thousands of people. And boom, I was doing an illusion show on the stage out there, and I had my pirate ship on the concourse while they were having their picnics and stuff, and so it was a big full day of entertainment. That was a big thing, but it's just another corporate thing, really. I've opened for a band at the historic Fillmore in San Francisco. That's a big thing, and it was a lot of people, but I don't know if that's a big thing. That's one of the memorable ones because of the history of. I was in the dressing room where all these famous rock and roll bands were getting ready, or whatever they were doing. And I've been on a couple of TV shows. I was on the Disney Channel when it first sort of started long ago. And then more recently than that, I was on with one of the most memorable and probably biggest things I did was I opened the show it was called the Good Time Cafe. It was on A&E Network. And Ellen DeGeneres closed the show. It was before she became Ellen, before anybody knew who she was, just a little bit on a local TV thing. And then she went off and did Carson and became famous, like literally 2 weeks later. Boom. But so that was pretty big because Ellen was there. It was on TV. It was one of my first, not my first TV things, but my first one where I'm actually doing my full act as opposed to just a bit on a TV thing. So that was pretty.
Because of who I am, what county and state fairs have you done? I'd like to know.
Well, golly, a lot over time. Mostly California fairs. I've done one in Arizona at the Yuma County Fair.
Okay.
But and then one in Nevada, Clark County Fair. But primarily because of my ship and towing it, I stick around California. And so I've done everything from the Riverside County Fair in Indio, the National Date Festival, to the bottom of California for the Imperial. Yes. It's the midwinter fair or something like that. And so, but I've also, the first one I had my pirate ship at was in Wairika, up at the top of California. And the very first fair I did long, long ago when my youngest was only 2 years old, and I took my family, was up in Tule Lake at the Tule Lake Butte Valley Fair or whatever it's called. And that was when I decided I couldn't go off traveling and doing fairs because I couldn't leave my wife and kids at home and it wasn't easy to take them with me. And I put the fairs on the back burner for all those years. And then I went up and did that fair again with my ship. And then I've been at the Kern County Fair, the Fresno Fair, Santa Cruz County Fair, Santa Clara County Fair, Alameda County Fair, San Mateo County Fair, Sonoma County Fair. This year I'll be at the Dixon May Fair and the one in Chico, which is called the Silver Dollar Fair. And I've been at the Calaveras County Fair and Santa Barbara, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on.
Okay, I get the picture.
Tell you how I what?
What happened to you when the pandemic hit?
Oh, well, everything stopped. Literally, every contract went away. I didn't do any fairs. I had done one fair already in 2020, and that was the one in Indio for the National Date Festival, the Riverside County Fair, because that happens usually in February. And I had done that for about 7 years in a row, and everything was fine. And then I got home, and I started hearing about on the news and stuff that there was this thing happening. And I got home about the 25th of February, and I usually hunker down at that time and start getting ready in earnest for the fairs that are coming in May and, you know, that sort of thing, and festivals in April. I have to refurbish the pirate ship during the winter, which is tough. So I'm looking for days where it's not raining or windy or something like that. And so I set about doing that. And I stayed home. I didn't go out anywhere. I was working. If I had known I was going to get locked up, I would have gone someplace and done something one last time. But I had just gotten back from doing the fair, and I sort of locked myself down at the end of February. March came, and we all found out we're all locked down. And there I stayed at home in Sacramento. And literally June was my first online virtual show on Father's Day that I did myself. By July, I had gotten accepted to Airbnb Experiences with my first show, which was just a magic show. And then February 21, my Mai Tai and Magic show got accepted on Airbnb Experiences. And the first month I did 29. The second month I did 35, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It went totally crazy. And I made almost more than I make traveling to fairs while sitting here in my slippers in my living room in the tiki bar doing magic.
Yeah, well, you know, a lot of people lost a lot of money and a lot of entertainers had a hard time. So
Indeed. And so I felt the very first year, you know, it was scary. I had to take out a loan from the SBA, and any help I could get, I took. And so the first several months, actually almost all that entire year, I wasn't making a lot of money. It was, I was spending money on advertising, trying to get people to buy tickets to an online thing. That wasn't working. And so it took really until December of 2020 for me to actually make any money online. So it was very bad and scary. Thank goodness I consolidated, bailed on any storage space I had, my warehouse where I usually keep my ship. So my ship came to my front yard. The neighbors probably thought, there goes the neighborhood. But no one said anything. They were very nice about it. They understood that, times are tough. They see me at home. They are all either working from home or starting to go back to work or that sort of thing before I did. They all see me sitting here, and my neighbors know now that I'm in here, talking to myself. It's what it sounds like from the outside, because you can't hear anyone else talking. You just hear me chatting it up, staring at a TV.
Mr. Jack, Mr.
Yes.
Jack, tell me about your kids and how they feel about this.
Oh, well, my kids have both been in my shows and fully support what I do. My oldest now has 3 kids. One is not a kid anymore. She's 19. I have a grand adult. But my oldest was in my shows when she was 2.5.
Okay.
She was doing a sword basket with me. I was in the sword basket with her, with a fellow magician, Dean Hankey, sticking swords through me. And you may know Dean. But then she was in my show levitating, floating, suspending, and being a clown in my little Circus Minimus show. And my younger daughter really didn't want to have anything to do with it for the longest time, kind of just doing her own thing. She wanted to become a school teacher when she was in kindergarten, and that's what she does now. But when I got that final layoff and I went to perform on the street at Pier 39, she started performing with me because she knew I needed, the more people, the more money you make, that sort of thing, the bigger the trick, the better, the crowd, that kind of thing. So she was going to school, getting her teaching credentials and doing her hours in classes and running down from up at the school wherever she was teaching, taking a bus or two and jumping on stage with me, getting into a sword basket while I stuck swords through it and lit it on fire. And that's how we made our living for several years until she got a teaching job finally. And I went back to performing with just the monkey, and I realized, yes.
I hear that just the monkey. That monkey's going to get you, Jack.
He is, yes. Indeed.
You have grandchildren?
I have 3 grandchildren, yeah.
What are their
2 boys
ages?
and 1 girl. One is 19, I know that, and I don't know. I can't remember the 2 boys' ages. I get both of them confused all the time because I don't get to see them very often, and when I do, they've grown like a foot, so...
I was just wondering how they felt about it.
They love it. They don't get to see me often, but when they have, they came and saw me perform at Pier 39, and they loved it there. And they've seen me perform online now. They love that. And they are both into totally different things. One is very musically inclined and very, very intelligent. The other is also extremely intelligent, but all totally into video games and things, which he, of course, liked the fact that I used to work for video game companies doing, building games.
Yes, animation. And the technology is getting so hard these days. It's unbelievable. So,
oh, my goodness, yeah.
Yes. Okay, all right. So where would you like to perform that you haven't had a chance to?
The Magic Castle.
Ooh, we'll put in a plug for you.
I have never done it. I've always been either too busy because I'm a worker. I'm out doing the shows. And way back when, they really didn't pay very much. It was really fine for local people to go and, perform here and there, But to drive all the way down there, get a room, and make a big thing out of it, it's almost like it's paying for your vacation to go down there and check out the Magic Castle. But I also just didn't really have an act for it because I was doing, for the longest time, only kids stuff, then only family-oriented stuff. And now I'm doing a lot of other stuff with the pirate character, and so it's going to be time to send a demo soon.
Okay. All right, and you're still doing virtual stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I have another tomorrow and the next day and on and on and on. They're booking into June already.
All right, so tell the audience where they could see these things.
My website takes you to all that stuff, so just jackspareribs.com. On the front page, you can choose to go toward the online shows or the in-person shows. And on the very front page, it says My Ties and Magic as well. And if you click that, it'll take you to that page that talks all about Airbnb, and there's links to that where I book most of those. You can, of course, book me for one of those on my website too, but the Airbnb thing is pretty easy for me because they maintain the calendar and I don't have to deal with too many different angles on that virtual stuff. So primarily I book through them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. We've thoroughly enjoyed listening to you, and I'm sure the audience that comes to me will enjoy listening to you too. And I'd like to give that Mr. Monkey guy a hug.
Yeah, Maynard, he gets a lot of hugs from people. He doesn't get many hugs from me, so I guess it's a good thing he gets hugs from other people. But he doesn't give me hugs either. But thank you for having me. I do hope people enjoyed hearing my weird tales.
Oh, you did fine, Mr. Jack. I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Adieu.